Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Welcome everybody here. First item on the agenda would be approval of minutes. We have a motion, we have a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Can I just make just a grammatical thing? I was reading through it, and at one point in time where it was supposed to say budget, it just said budget. I don't remember where it's at. There's a T missing somewhere, just so you know.
Okay.
The spell check didn't catch it.
Well, yeah. I need a budge.
I just thought it was.
So we'll approve with that recommended grammatical change. Any further corrections? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thanks for catching that.
Thank you, Adam. Approval of the agenda. Any additions, corrections to the agenda? Okay.
Second.
Motion and second to approve the agenda. Commissioner Ball, Commissioner Ball.
Okay, sorry.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Roger.
Yeah, I got another estimate from Thompson's to put on third floor the blinds that we have here and on the ends, and then actually it's an office here on first floor. And we're gonna put a few more in the recorder's office. That initially I said, yeah, don't worry about it, but once they put them up, yeah, we should probably put them in too. So anyway, total is 16,900. I had talked to the glass shop, Quincy, and he said he's got enough work to do, so he wasn't even bothering putting in an estimate. So,
And Thompson's are the one that currently did the,
yes,
did the shades.
yes.
And as everybody can see, they look really good.
You all right with this?
Yeah, you know, it's, they said on the ends, it's not quite as easy as putting these up. And I see what they're talking about. So they're putting in less shades, a few less shades for a little more money, but I know there are issues with, like I said, putting on the ends of the hallways. It's a little tougher to do than it was just pull it off the full vertical blinds here and put these in, so.
Move to approve. Second, just a quick question. Will this finish the courthouse
Yes.
basically? It'll be sold
Yeah.
every window, every courthouse.
Everybody likes them?
No,
Nobody?
I didn't say nobody. I said you asked if everybody likes it. No, everybody does not like them. Some people do, some people don't, like any.
You just can't stand change.
No, well, you know, they do let in a little more sunlight than I thought they would, and that's basically the issue. And I said, but that wasn't their intent.
You like them.
I think
Yeah, and I would echo that comment. They don't block out as much sunlight as I thought they would. They do block out a considerable amount of it, but building glass buildings are probably not the most efficient way to heat and cool a facility. But I do like them as opposed to the ones that are up there.
Well, unless I was totally missing something, aren't they mostly to block out UV and infrared?
well,
Isn't that?
block out the heat.
Well, right, so infrared mostly, that's sort of like the front of front of the microwave.
Their reasoning is try and block off the heat.
And they do a decent job of that, so it still gets way hot on the west side of the building in the afternoon, and I'm sure it is on the east side in the morning, so it is what it is. Yeah. So we have a motion, we have a second to go ahead with the bid from Thompson's for the remainder of the blinds for building. Further discussion? Not all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
I don't know.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Roger.
All right, thanks.
Thank you.
Rhonda and Annette, are you guys tag team in the Safe Haven or just
Yes.
one of you at a time? Safe Haven law discussion.
Okay, so in September of this year, Ramsey County, local public health and Lake Mountain Social Services was designated by law, by Century Code, as a safe haven, a safe infant haven, abandonment location. So, the definition of abandoned infant means, any infant abandoned at birth prior to 1 year of age, regardless of location of birth, has been left with an on-duty staff member at an approved location by law, and that would mean Ramsey County Courthouse. So for informational purposes only, there are 2 locations within this facility when we have on-duty staff, and that would be,
The human services.
Christy Peterson, Christy
Hoisted Peterson.
Hoisted Peterson, and myself, Annette Groves, are designated, abandonment designees.
So just to add to that, the North Dakota legislature had, I think her name was Scraw, took up the cause. There was just basically 2 places, I think at the ambulance facility maybe, and I'm putting in the fire station, no. Okay, maybe the fire station or the police department,
The hospital, fire, and law enforcement.
So they added hospital emergency rooms, local public health, human service zones, regional human service centers, long-term care facilities, children's advocacy centers, emergency medical service operations, 911 or ambulances, so you were added. You did get this, you got stuff right? No? Okay, I will get you the stuff, okay. Criminal justice agencies, such as the sheriff's office and police department. So they added a lot of things. There's actually a lot of spirited discussion about adding bars and elevators because of the only place in some of the small towns that's open. They didn't make the cut. So it was new, and Annette said, well, we have to go, we have to tell the commission this. So I said, okay, so here we are. We've had abandoned babies before, of course. And I think if you're on the zone board, you know that we've had children sleeping in our building lots before. So this is new to protect mothers so that they can release their baby without consequence too. This was looked at because there were some charges against women who brought their babies to unapproved locations. Technically, then they can be charged with abandonment. So they added some of these. I think one of the places was actually a hospital emergency room, which to all of us, that would be a very safe place. But it didn't meet the letter of the law prior to this change. And so the person was charged. There were other somewhat horror stories about being charged, because if it's not in the law, you can't just drop your baby places, obviously. So it's a good thing.
And forgive me for my ignorance, but are there parameters that apart from the location you go to do it, are there parameters that determine whether or not it's okay to
Oh,
abandon?
yes.
And what are some of those, just out of curiosity?
Well, the infant has to present unharmed. So if there's observable harm, obviously that's a 911 call, and Sean would come right to my rescue. The infant has to be under a year of age, needs to be some information obtained, but if we can't get any information, the infant can be left with no questions asked. And that's within the law. So we do have questionnaires and obviously certification that had to be done. So, you know, we do have training that's in place and needs to be observed in the event that this occurs. But for informational purposes, you need to be aware that this is your building. This is a county building. And we have a legal obligation when we're on duty to accept this instance, this baby that could be left in our care.
That's interesting.
Thank you.
And just to refresh my mind, right, we had this discussion previous, how many times has this happened in the past?
Well,
I remember you saying you recalled one time in like the past, not that many.
well, you can say how many, it's been a while.
Yeah, I think you said like the last decade, maybe it's happened once.
Yeah, and I was thinking it back a long time, and I there have at least been 3. They're usually at the hospital, and yeah, so, or with another person perhaps. And they're actually, Benson County had a baby in a bar. So, I think there was some extenuating circumstances. So we had some discussion about this. So there have been instances where, parents are put in a spot where they feel just pressured to do something. And, I think all of the instances I can think of, it was a good thing that children were not harmed. They just simply could not care for they believed they could not care for their children. So.
And Annette and I were having this discussion about whether or not we want to post something on the entrances of the courthouse. And I think there was concern about not leaving the infant after hours. And so you wouldn't do that, but you post it on your door or where it was safe within the building to do. And I know Cavalier County, we're having that discussion. Cavalier County put something on the outside of their door with after hour instructions. And I'll leave that up to Annette and Wanda to decide if they want to pursue those type of postings or whatever. And if you need to spend some money out of the county budget to get those, we would certainly take that up and do that.
I would recommend for public safety, that would be a very wise investment.
We'll have to get the wording together.
Yeah, I think there needs to be a discussion about that. I mean, they are correct, this is a law change. I wasn't consulted about the meeting, so I don't have anything prepared for something like that.
That's fine. But yeah, and just something to say on the outside of the door, saying that after hours, safe leaving, follow these instructions, kind of thing, so you don't leave an infant out there when
Keep
it's,
it simple.
yeah, keep it simple. So we'll work on that and come up with some type of guidance for the entrances of the building. So,
Where's a safe place to suggest they take the infant?
After hours for here would be the emergency room. And next step would be law enforcement.
I was gonna say, those are the only 2 that would be probably 24/7 staff.
or Sean's personal phone number is.
And Bo, we have not put up any signs because of the discussion, and we'll talk with you about that. So thank you.
Yeah. And is there a change within the zone board member that we need to talk about or discuss?
Well, it's not on the agenda, but, there's people here.
Discussion on some board.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Discussion on zone board.
Yes, we need a zone board member, I'm sorry, yes. And so there are 4 people here, they're interested in being a zone board member. We'd love to, have you. There is an application, we can do an application process, I do have an application. In the past, Ramsey County has had 2 commissioners, and that's been, Commissioner Ed Brown and Commissioner Adam Lightbon. Commissioner Ed Brown has stated that he would step down. The law changed. It will change January 1, that we need a community member to be on our zone board. So we would be looking for one. And actually, ambulance service directors was one of the persons, seriously, that was mentioned to get someone from the medical field that sees what goes on in the community. So, it was timely that Sean was here. He said, "You're just really getting picked on." So, yeah, so, we have a board meeting tomorrow at 9 a.m. and hope to talk about how we would recruit someone. I know that Ed had some ideas for recruitment, and so that's, I would hope that I would bring someone back. It's already getting to be November, December. Hopefully by the second November meeting, we would have someone to bring some names to bring forward, and you would choose that, put together some sort of biography or of a bio of the people that are interested, and have a vote and appoint someone, if you would, please.
These four interested? That's correct?
Yes. You know, I
She's
know.
just saying they're here, so maybe we can twist their arms.
You are interested?
You behave.
Not, I would take that he's not interested, like,
Oh, they're not interested.
I don't know.
And that half the utility bill is gonna cost you, Sean.
And that's what I'm starting to think, I'm like, well.
This is what you need is another board.
Yeah. But yeah, we can take applications till the second meeting in November and, make a decision then. And they'd start the 1st of January, correct?
Yep, that is correct.
We'll look forward to seeing some names.
I hope so. My goal is 4, but I'd settle for 2, so. How's that?
Sounds very good. Thank you. Anything else? Nothing listed on the agenda for either of you, but thank you much for coming in and bringing the safe haven law to our attention.
Thank you for welcome. Thank you for having us.
Hearing on appraisal. Looks like we surpassed our 5:45 time. My apologies. So hearing on appraisal, appraised values for properties listed on the foreclosed list. We have to approve the values, and then, second meeting in November is when we would have the sale. So we have a couple within the city of Devils Lake. One we have a pretty hefty special on, looks like. And the appraised value of 21,000, and then the other one would be 5,100. Both of those, hopefully we can.
Is that one with that special, that's from the one cleared, right?
That would be the one that the city cleared. It would be the empty lot right next to Anytime Fitness,
Oh, okay.
where that house was.
Yeah, they technically are not special, just like we did.
Yeah.
So,
And if you feel that these values need to be higher than what they are.
If that came up with these,
you can adjust.
Yeah, we can invest.
maybe the special on that. City's bigger.
Mhm.
No way.
That's city special is the thing, but
Maybe one more.
So the city paid somebody to take the building down, they paid for that cost, and then they tacked it on as a special, so those specials would be repaid back to the city then. Do we have the ability to adjust those specials?
the city would have
They would
to
That's what I'm making sure.
Forgive.
Not supposed to.
write us a letter.
Did you ask if we have the ability to waive these?
Not waive them, but change them, you know, like when we did the lot over here, we started at 10,000, that's what it cost us to take it down, and then the second year we moved it down just so we could try to get the lot. You know, so it wasn't just sitting there empty as a cost.
Right.
And since this is the first year on the list, I'm fine with keeping that number, since that's what the city has it.
Any other changes? We have these,
We started out at 139 foreclosure pieces, and we ended up with 6.
You need a motion to approve these? Yeah. I'll make the motion to approve these.
Motion and a second to approve the values. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Moving on, Mr. Rude.
Just a little bit.
You sure?
I apologize for my tardiness. My medical director stopped by at 5 o'clock. I didn't have a heart to tell, but I had a meeting. Paid my bills. So one more. One action back, and some of the one colors. I have my next item up there, but it is. Okay. I know I was here last month, and we discussed a few things. Thank you again, Mr. Wakefield, for coming down and visiting with me. It was nice to actually have someone come down and see us. I talked to the city yesterday, so what I'm really trying to do is get more community awareness from the ambulance service to work with the community, work with the county, work with the city. And so I want to keep coming to these meetings more and more often. Sorry, I'll figure it out.
Yep.
The command vehicle, we actually did get that last night. I did a PowerPoint presentation, that's for actually for the Rotary Club. It's got a lot of nice pictures in it, a little history on the ambulance service itself. The command vehicle we got last evening from the city, they donated it. We actually switched out one of our old ambulances and did a trade with them. So we have a command vehicle. What we're doing with this command vehicle is we're going to be starting a community paramedic program. What that is if somebody is too sick or somebody is elderly, somebody needs to be seen by a doctor, we'll actually drive out to their location, set up telehealth. We'll take the vitals, which calls draw blood, and they can actually talk to the doctor, bring the labs in, if they get prescriptions, bring prescriptions back. So it's going to be for the whole community. It's so new that on the website it says coming soon. So we still have to finish it, and now I have a command vehicle, we're doing that for the community paramedic as well. So once there's a need for it, we're going to go off with that. One of the reasons I was bringing up to you guys is a couple things before I get to the training facility, the meta transport. We're looking at trying to get funds for that. And what that is basically a VA bus. It's just a Ford Transit vehicle. We have the staff for it right now to do the transports. We just don't have the vehicle. It's going to cost, what is that? $62,000 for a brand new heavy transport. I can shop around, I'm looking for it, but I've been trying to write grants. Unfortunately, the grant that we had for 2 ambulances and 3 cardiac monitors that we needed was denied. And that's $206,000 for a brand new ambulance, $50,000 for a brand new cardiac monitor. So we have to put all that money into getting our ambulances with cardiac monitors up to date. So that's a hefty bill for us to come up with. But for this, go ahead.
Who did you apply to?
It was the AFG grant. It's the firefighters grant. So I applied for Otto Bremer for a lot of these. Otto Bremer this year knows that they will no longer give 2 ambulances or fire departments. That was the first time I've ever seen that before. I've also applied for Otter NDU. I got some money from Enbridge. With this other one, that little mini ambulance one, I got some money from Sanford and get some from Vulture. So I am raising some money, and I'm going to a lot of places getting grants. So I've been writing a lot of grants for a lot of this stuff.
You get like the experience of writing these grants?
I do not, but I have someone that's teaching me a lot that has experience. She wrote grants for years, so she's going to help me with that. I also have some people that are helping, Ultra's going to help me with bringing grant writers with. So we are trying to write grants. It's just the medic transport is something that we're having a problem with. Many ambulances, it's actually not too hard with that one. I actually can try to write for those grants, but they're that small. They went from giving everything to the medical field to this year they mostly focus on domestic violence, things like that. So it's just the way the grants have been going. The focus this year. So,
Thought about going through the Veterans Association?
I've been talking with Jack and with Press Crosby and all of them. They only do contract through the DAV. And they're going to do the transport, and there is no transport in northern North Dakota. The closest one is Goodrich. And, and they come up every once in a while.
Most of the transports that go to the VA hospital, they wouldn't go to transport.
They go to the, but we can take them, with us, we can take them wherever we want. So, we're just looking to get it started. I'm trying to convince my board that there's a need for it. There's obviously a need for it. Our dialysis unit, also just announced they're going to start a new bed, start 6 beds. So this will be to haul dialysis patients as well.
You're aware of how many veterans live in Ramsey County, right?
Yes,
It's a huge number, isn't it?
yes, it is. It's a huge thing, and the best thing about it is, sorry, before you guys here.
No, that's not.
The belly portion of it is the vet comes in, gives him his name, DOB, that's it. I'm a vendor to the VA already. So if we did this privately, it's gonna cost me too much money. They're right, try to do it as a volunteer. And you wouldn't get anything in return. As an ambulance service, since we're already insured and we're all medically trained, they'll pay for it. So it's weird.
I know when I first came on the commission, I listened to the number and I thought, wow, no way. And it is, but, well over 800 veterans live in Ramsey County.
Yeah, and we were actually looking at going to 14 counties, so we're gonna start with Ramsey first. And if there's a need, then we'll see it, but we're just trying to take care of Ramsey County first. So, we did look at a few of these different, bus versus the transit, which it is a bus, but it's a small van. It's just the size and the fuel and everything else in it.
How much of that 62,000 would you need up front to get this project in place?
That's the price of the vehicle. Everything else is done. We've got our crew, we have everything that we need, that we just need to get this vehicle. So we're, just starting, we're just putting our feet forward and we're just starting out.
I have one I'll give you, but I'm afraid to do you a dishonor to our veterans by giving them something that's worn out. But, yeah,
I'm sure they're getting better.
no, I have an old van that sit and take up space in my place. It's got 200,000 miles on it, and the wheelchair lift doesn't.
So that's kind of what I'm looking for is if we got it going, just to show my board of directors that, hey, look, this is how much is needed, and we can start going on our own and just keep them well. Because my ambulances, I go through different areas all the time. I put about 200,000 every year on one ambulance. So
200?
yeah, I'm always rotating ambulances. We're about 2 behind right now.
And for 62,000, that's a really good deal. Because those things are really expensive.
Yeah.
How many people does this vehicle haul in?
And it was.
The reason I'm asking a lot of questions is I have another organization that I think could be interested in helping with this. And I won't say that right now, but counterparts on the other board that I have to talk to. So
Copies
at least enough to get it started.
I'd like to get it started because it's trying to get someone to go with the VA. My father's disabled, and he drives himself all the time, spends the night, and he's still young. So if they're older vets, this is going to be harder and harder. So it's something I'd like to work with both the city and county and come up with ideas.
Correct me if I'm wrong, and we talked about this last time you were here, but the funding for the ambulance service is all billable payment and grant money, right?
Correct.
There's no property tax, anything like
Nothing.
which is insane. What, that we expect to run a full EMS service without any kind of backbone based on funding, it's just.
And what were you telling me about, what was it, the government, governmental entity like this, there are certain things that we can fund for you and things that we can't, is that correct? Did I remember that correctly from For the most part, yes, we get the sponsorships, things like that.
Oh, right.
So, we did look at, I saw this mini ambulance, if you got a picture of it, I keep calling it mini ambulance, it's got just this top name to it, but, I was gonna try to get sponsorships, same thing with the band. DAB, we're not allowed to, because we're nonprofit. So we're a private nonprofit, we can't put on a bunch of details and say sponsored by. FMI, that's the Briscoe, Sanford, Sanford, almost, that was people, very good people. So.
Unless that's run by the actual hospital, like.
Yeah,
She's
so
got her own hospital.
if they bought it, once they bought it, then that's fine. Before that, I couldn't put CHI in my bids, or all true. Unless they would.
Well, just as a question to my fellow commissioners, you know, the state does a lot of challenge grants for like higher ed every year almost, it seems like they do. Why, I mean, would there be willingness on this board to set a dollar amount and have it be a challenge match so that Lake Region Ambulance Service can go out and raise the money, we'll match it up to a certain dollar amount, and then it doesn't cost the county the whole thing, but.
Maybe it'd be a great place for someone to hold money.
Well, the COVID meeting, I'm sorry.
Just that way we're not, there's more skin in the game.
Right, I mean, they'll make sure that we know Sean's going out and beating the tar and we can still feel it would help.
I think you gotta be careful when you're talking about writing grants and things like that. I definitely wouldn't do it off the cuff. I think you should research if it's applicable, if it can be. Maybe we can use COVID funds. I think it's a very noble cause. But the lawyer in me says you gotta take it slow and make sure you're doing everything the right way.
Right. Thank you.
No, I totally agree. This is nothing that I want, we need it now, we need it tomorrow, it's something, I want to look into it, get some help with it. Try to get it going, and just try to get the ball rolling.
We'll remember that thought.
No, I mean, that's kind of what I thought would be the result, we were about to discuss how to get the money, it's just, that would be the direction that I would feel most comfortable going, you know, is to do something like a challenge match. That we either control.
Might be worth talking to some of your counterparts in Benson County. I know they just community fundraised to get a canine for their sheriff's department. And although that's not the same, this is a similar type of thing, tapping into the community, seeing if the community is willing to put up for that. So they might have the playbook already drafted up. That's what I'm saying.
I did, the next one on here, Minneapolis, I did do one for the community, and that's it out there, very little support on that right now. But, I had a all shoe saying that they wanted to be a major sponsor of that, and Sanford at the same time. So I got two hospitals that can argue, okay with that. They can argue what they want, so gonna say, like Region Ambulance Service on Sanford for all shoe. They wanna fight, I'm okay with that. The mini ambulance, we need one. It's, I keep calling it that picture of it, it's a side by side, it's an ambulance coming on the side by side. We've needed it for years. I think when I pulled it, we had a few years ago, I mounted a spine board on your forward, and we walked all the way, that person on the spine board, that's complicated. Even going up the field searching for somebody that's been missing for a while, or any kind of rough terrain. White Horse Hill, we had that wreck that was there. They had to walk and tie ropes and get the patients out down the hill. So this is something we can use to get into our rough terrain, which we have a lot of for the state of North Dakota. It's weird.
Search and rescue doesn't have a vehicle like
They have
that?
to have a weasel.
Oh,
And that is extremely hard or heavy, and it
yeah.
takes a long time. That's about 60 miles an hour. The components are already there. We have all the equipment for that. We have the personnel. Go ahead.
That's what I was kind of just wondering, not that Search and Rescue doesn't have one, but there's different pots of money when you write different grants. So is there a possibility we could work with search and rescue, have them write the grant? Cause that's the mini ambulance, but just have like an MOU where you guys use it, market, but it's their equipment. Because maybe they could utilize a different pot of money to get some grant funding to do something like that.
I work with search and rescue.
Okay, I kind of figured you were, but just.
Yeah, it's, we've been working with all the agencies on this, the sheriff's department included, so if they have something, we're gonna respond to and help them out with whatever the situation is. Search and rescue, like if my crew's busy, that's what they've been doing, the search and rescue coming out there. So all agencies are working towards this. We're just trying to find some funds for it. Like I said, all through in Stafford are arguing, but I don't know how much they're gonna argue. Who's gonna pay, we'll see. So I'm okay with that, like I said. Last thing, I'm sorry, you guys. Last thing is the Liquid and Joint Training Center. I told you last one that, we have this ready to sign over. We did just finish the foundation right after the meeting, and we have 2 88 bathrooms now, men and women in there. And now search and rescue is going to start working on the kitchenette, so they'll have the kitchenette there. You guys have a copy, I do not have a copy that I just gave to the commissioners. The rough numbers, you look at direct operating costs and everything that's on there underneath other, those are for my staff. So that's a crew of 12 working at full-time at the service. It's a very high number for direct operating costs. Utilities are correct, that's how much we pay to get utilities at the building right now. The insurance is an estimate based on what we were paying, it's the same company. But all the direct operating costs, the building maintenance, all that is what I'm paying per year. So it will be considerably less. City Commission agreed last night to pay half of all bills.
Half?
So, what you're coming to ask the county for is approximately $8,274 a year from the county?
Yes.
That's no brainer.
Gonna make that motion?
I'll make that motion. We cover half the cost of the joint training center.
I'll second.
Whoever's on the number there.
We have a motion and a second to go ahead and approve the Joint Training Center, annual billing, $82,74.86. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. John, thank you.
You guys have any other questions for me?
No, but thank you for this information.
Yeah, thanks.
This is actually really interesting.
There's a lot of information in there for you guys to read. I gave it to you guys to have a lot of extra copies.
Thank you.
To read it. It's
I wasn't aware that you couldn't dial 911 here.
I know.
That's crazy.
I don't even remember. I worked for the ambulance in 94.
We had to direct dial the law enforcement center to get the ambulance. There was no 911. It's on 1997.
It's unfortunate we didn't, take a look at this sooner with the squabbling over money in Bismarck right now. I saw the city of Williston, I think, was in asking for funds for an ambulance, saying that they have the most transports in the state of North Dakota. I would put you at a very close second, probably.
We're number 6 in the state as far as how busy we are. So you think
Okay.
Fargo, Bismarck, Williston, we're number 6.
You need punching above your weight class for sure.
Yeah.
Well, happy to help with this. I'm glad you came in. And then moving forward, if you'd be willing, Mr. Cummings, you can help with that?
I don't have the time to commit to grant research on that, sorry.
Okay, you can't give the county a legal opinion on that?
Whether or not it'd be legal for the county to.
I can draft you an opinion, I can't sit in on the discussion.
Sure.
No, that's not what I was.
Just so we know if we can do it or not. That's all we need to know.
Yeah, that's all we want is legal opinion on whether or not we can or can't.
Let's keep us out of trouble.
Haven't gone great yet.
I'm confident that it's legal.
The other question I would have on it too is, you got the grant funding portion of it, but is it possible instead of grant funding, if we can't do grant funding, can we just directly fund something like buying an ambulance?
I mean, we must be, right?
I would assume we can.
But I mean, the only thing is, I don't know if you're crossing some kind of definitional threshold by saying we agree to fund it up to this point, but you need to prove to us that you have these other donors, and does that become something else? I don't know.
Well, and we don't wanna make it so that you lose a grant.
Well, the thing that Candy just pointed out, we have a lot of entities that come to us with requests and needs for money, that we commit to. And whether it be considered a donation type of thing, but it's on an annual basis. And, we continue to fund that. And so thinking along these lines, I think there would be a dollar amount that we could commit to.
One guy fund, one guy.
Whether or not it could qualify under to the grant type of situation.
Well, I don't want to get stuck using like a specific term, it's just basically the concept of go out and raise some amount of it from the community and the supporters, the people that it's actually benefiting, and we would basically give you some additional portion. And I like that concept.
We'll help you out. How's that?
There you go. Yeah, sounds good.
You know, without committing a specific dollar amount, but, if you have other entities that would be willing to contribute, I think the county would be willing as well.
Yeah, no,
That'd be,
like I said, tonight I was here just so I can start the ball.
Sure.
You guys know a lot more than I do about this stuff, so it's nice to be able to visit with you guys.
I know like Commissioner Brown indicated, it's a greatly needed, within the community, so, so we'd like to get that going, so I'll help you out any way we can.
Is there anything else?
Anything else for us?
I'm going to sit down.
Thank you, Sean.
Thank you. Very good.
Visitors and delegations. Anything? Nothing?
Just getting one.
Thanks for the show.
Oh, we appreciate it.
Appreciate you guys coming in.
Education.
Sometimes we're just sitting here all by ourselves.
One of the things that Candy just handed me here was from the State Fair Association. We have nominated Blaine to attend that. After last meeting, he indicated that his schedule conflicted with that. So I made an executive decision and appointed Beth Black, another fair board member, who agreed to attend that. Has great interest in the state fair and spends an awful lot of time up there every year with herself and her kids. So we decided to do that, and we submitted that to the State Fair Association. So that will take place November 16th. The reason we did that right away is because of the timing of the, they needed to know so they could get everything submitted and sent and the representative here. So thank you for checking your schedule, and Beth is looking forward to attending that. One other announcement that I have, or I guess I have a few of them, but real quickly is the joint board is looking for nominations for a water stewardship award. Submitted that to on your desk. Criteria is on the back page, I think, for that. It's right in the middle of that, the criteria for that award. And basically, it's an award that we'll give out. We'll let the hand out to somebody, an individual, a group, or a organization. Come December 9th is when that awards banquet is held at the annual water convention in Bismarck. The joint board actually pays for that person's way and their registration to the banquet, and give them a hotel room so they don't have to drive back after the banquet's over with. So if you have a nomination or an individual, let me know. I can help you fill out the application. Let's see, ANS meeting between the counties that Rich Breckner had approached us about. Looking at bringing up Ben Holing, state A&S coordinator. Hopefully he can get his boss, Jeff Williams, the new director of Game and Fish, to come up. If his schedule allows, the week of November 15th through the 19th, try to have an evening meeting, bringing Ramsey, Nelson, and Benson counties in together. But I'm gonna ask Susie Canner, our tourism director, to send out an invitation to chamber businesses, resorts, open it up to lake homeowners, and trying to come up with a good way to prevent aquatic nuisance from invading our waters, especially here in the Devil's Lake area, since it's such an important part of our recreation and our economics within our community. So looking for the 15th, between the 15th and the 19th of November. Waiting to hear back from Jeff Williams and Ben on which day will work best for them. I know the 16th is our regular commission meeting, so I'm trying to avoid that day. And, but anything else, we'll try to work with them as best we can. Been trying to keep track of what's going on at the legislature. Last week they had interim legislative meetings with the House and Senate appropriation committees on how the state's going to spend roughly $700 million of that American Rescue Act funding. I think they have $9 billion in requests. So to get something filled, but this is testimony that Pesky gave to the Senate Appropriations Committee today. Terry Trainer gave similar testimony last week to the House Appropriations. And it's really looking to fill the prairie dog bucket that the counties were kind of promised years back on some of our county road funding. So utilizing the Operation Prairie Dog, they felt that that was based on need and not population. So taking the need assessment from Upper Great Plains local road study that was done. And you can see on the back side, what's not colored. Okay, here's this color.
Saving money on the printer.
Saving money on the printer, that's all right. But you can see there's several of those projects listed in Ramsey County, and hoping that some of that money comes to the county's way. As I mentioned, they lay $8 short, Sean. I was sitting back listening to the testimony last week and going, Ramsey County, we should have asked for this, and this. Contacted our representatives at the legislature, and they said, kind of late, but we'll see what we can do. One of the requests that I made on behalf of the Ramsey County Fair was that building that is being looked at out there. It's been on the wish list for, probably 10 years anyway. And Representative Johnson said, well, if you guys can contribute some to it. I said, well, I know the fair board has money that they're building on. If we can get some help for something like that, I think we'd feel a great need within our community. And which leads me to the other point of discussion on that American recovery money. Is Ramsey County, we got $2.3 million that's been promised to us. I think initially we got half of that. We need to set up a committee on how to spend that. I think Burley County has an application online. We've had some requests from political subdivisions. I think having a committee of maybe a commissioner, certainly our auditor, since her name's signed to the money, and she has to put her red up to.
What goes to jail when we don't do this, right?
Right. But anyway, there's very specific guidelines on how it can and can't be spent. So I think before we go ahead and just say, yeah, let's spend it on this, I think we should have some criteria going forward and setting up a committee on how we should spend it, what's gonna be the best, most cost efficient way for the taxpayers of Ramsey County. That's what I have.
So I think that's a great idea. Do you want a motion to that? Set up a committee?
Well, should we have that as a motion or put that on the agenda for next meeting, since it wasn't, I didn't officially listed on the agenda for discussion item?
We should be on the committee.
And then put it on the next agenda.
Yeah,
Well, that's fine.
Yeah, I think that's.
I just thought that the beginning wrong was making a motion that intention to set up a committee.
no. That'd be okay, Paul?
Seems fine to me. I can't be on the committee, but I can advise it.
Right, yeah. No, I think, we have a handful of people that we think that, should probably be included on that. And Candy and probably a commission or that would like to volunteer. But it's,
Are you looking for volunteers right now?
looking for a volunteer, but who else did we thought Roger for buildings.
I think you should just put it out to your department heads and see.
Well, and there's gonna be certain wants and needs. You know, if we could, we could spend it all on roads. Really easy. I'm sure Kevin could come up with a road project that'd be worth that kind of money, but they won't allow us to spend the money on that. There's, like I said, there's stipulations on spending this money are really, really tight. I'm not sure how exactly the state got away with, just spending it, but counties and cities, we are held to a different level of
I think
restrictions.
our standard and level is different compared to the state. They have more flexibility.
Yes, you should give us a list
You know,
of the things we can spend it on. Let us have it for a while so we can get up some idea.
water, sewer,
They don't really, they do, but they don't.
They have an interim final rule, but they don't have a final
Yeah.
rule.
right,
The interim final rule, though, is if you made any decisions currently under the interim final rule, then they would qualify going forward.
right.
Wouldn't be grandfathered.
It's grandfathered in from this. Basically, it's water, sewer infrastructure costs, broadband
Broadband.
infrastructure costs. Anything to do with mental health care issues, healthcare needs, things like that.
Rhonda, did you have some
Oh, I was just cheering for the mental health.
cheering for them? So I think coming up with the guidelines, I think would be good. And a priority list, and what that priority list would indicate.
Be a starting block anyway.
My main concern with the whole thing is it's kind of like similar to the state, what's the state have $1 billion, give or take, something like that? They got $2 billion, and they got $9 billion in asks. So we're gonna have $2 million, we're gonna get $10 million in asks. And how are we going to delineate what's the most important work?
One of them, other than I, the governor's idea of giving everybody in the state.
Yeah.
X amount of dollars. That's one of them. What the other eight, I don't know.
Well, I think they spent some during the legislative session that are unobligated, that they didn't appropriate a specific, and they're hoping to use that. And so that's where the 500 million comes off the top right away. And so there's 1.2 billion sitting there, and they have about 700 million that they can spend. That's
Every
not,
car in Bismarck, Manhattan, have an idea.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Well,
so,
to that end, I think that it would behoove us to, if we empower a committee, the committee should essentially be the aggregating point for any and all asks. And we can, once it's set up, we can put it out to the community or organizations, if you have an ask. And I think that this commission should empower that committee to sort by maximum community benefit. Right, and then essentially that committee's gonna have to do cost benefit analyses on the proposals that they get. And then I think that a full list breaking out exactly how a portion or all of the money will be spent should be given to the county commission and then approved or
Yes,
amended by the county commission.
yeah, the commission has to
No,
have,
I-
to say.
Right, but I'm just laying out the
No, I,
process as I see
yeah, I
it.
think that's how I.
Well, and I think really an important aspect of all that would be, is it an ongoing cost? Is it something that we're gonna establish that's gonna come back and hit the budget on an annual basis? Or is it a one-time expenditure of those funds? And that would, to me, that would be the best expenditure, something that we're gonna need within the community at some point, and difficult to pass on to the taxpayers in a big lump sum, but something that we could do for the community without passing that expense on to the taxpayers. But creating something that has an annual expenditure, I don't know if I'm really.
No, I agree with that. But I think I'd like to see it on the agenda for the next meeting then, that, we discuss exactly how we want this committee set up and who we want to be represented on it and how we want to empower them to go about sorting through all of the various tasks.
Perfect.
So are we technically tabling discussion for the next week?
Yep.
I'll make a motion to table discussion for the next week.
All right. Moved in second, that we table it.
How much money is that?
Signify by saying aye.
How much money is that?
Pardon me?
How much money is that in that fund?
2.1 million is what Ramsey County will receive. And I think, we have till, 2026.
2024, I believe.
2024 to appropriate it.
To appropriate
2026 to spend it, so.
But it's like anything, when we talked about it, association counties need, the quicker we can put together a parameter for how we want to do it, the quicker we can spend it, the more bang we're gonna get for our buck from the inflation as well as the interest rates and everything else. So we're better off trying to utilize it as quickly as we possibly can. So obviously it's gonna take some time because we don't have shovel-ready projects probably up to that point, but.
The biggest problem is where you can spend it.
Yeah, that's the big thing.
That's the biggest problem.
Because you as taxpayers would be on the hook for repaying it
We don't do it right.
if it's misallocated.
Make sure you do it right.
So,
Jeff, what is that, what's the money coming from? What do they call it?
federal government,
But is it like a special,
CARES money.
It's not-
So it cares.
The American Rescue Plan.
okay,
Our fund.
okay.
Yeah.
ARPA.
Time we get a decision, maybe they'll have more money.
It's the only thing they didn't want to know was my
Unreal.
Here's one more.
So any other
We
announcements?
form like that all the time.
We didn't vote.
Oh, we didn't vote.
No, I interrupted you.
All in
Sorry.
favor of tabling?
Aye.
Opposed and signing, we'll table that till the next meeting. Our next meeting is what, the 2nd of November?
Yes.
I will be, okay.
Don't do anything illegal.
Illegal? We keep it all legal because it's fun.
Is that the reason to keep it all legal?
You know why.
Any other announcements? Motion to adjourn?
Unless there's-
30 other counties, they stacked all the time.
Motion to
30
adjourn.
other counties. stacked all.
Thank you all for coming.
Wow.
Thank you.